As-Sabiqun rahmatullah.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. أشهد أن محمدا رسول الله. حي على الصلاة. حي على الصلاة. حي على الفلاح. حي على الفلاح. الله أكبر، الله أكبر. لا إله إلا الله.
Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah. Ahmaduhu wa asta'inuhu wa astadihi wa astaghfiruhu wa uminu bihi jalla wa ala wa la akfuruhu wa ashhadu an la ilaha illallah wa ashhadu anna Muhammadan abduhu wa rasuluhu arsalahu bil huda wa dinil haq liyudhhirahu ala ad-din kullihi wa law kariha al-mushrikun. All praise belongs to Allah. We praise Him, we seek His help, His assistance, and His guidance. We believe in Him and do not disbelieve in Him. I bear witness that there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is a servant and messenger. Allah sent him, that is Muhammad, with Deen al-Haq, the religion, the way, the methodology of truth. This way of life known as Islam will rise to its proper position in this world, whether the mushriks like it or not. Amma ba'd, fa'inna azkikal hadith kitabullah, wa awtaqa al-ura kalimatu taqwa, wa khayrul milali milatu Ibrahim, wa khayrul sunani sunatu Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, wa ashraful hadith dhikrullah, wa asanu al-kasasi hadha al-Qur'an, wa khayrul umuri awasimuha, wa shayrul umuri muhtadatuha, wa asanu al-hajju hajju al-anbiya, wa ashraful maut katlu shuhada, wa alama dalalatul ba'da al-huda, wa khayrul amali ma nafa'a, wa khayrul hadi ma itba'a, wa shayrul amma al-kalb. Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam has said the most truthful of discourses is Kitabullah. The most trustworthy word is taqwa, or fear of Allah. The best of the communities is the community of Prophet Ibrahim. Best way of life is the Sunnah, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The remembrance of Allah is the most glorious of all things. The best of all narrations is Quran. Best acts are those requiring the highest degree of will and determination. Worst acts are those based on innovation. The best way of life is the one adopted by the prophets of Allah. The most glorious death is the death of the martyr. The most wretched blindness consists of going astray after finding the right way. The best acts are those that yield benefits. Best guidance is that which people may be able to follow. The worst blindness is the blindness of the heart. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Inna Allah ya'muru bil-'adli wal-ihsani wa ita'i dhil qurba wa yanha 'anil fahsha'i wal-munkari wal-baghi ya'idhukum la'allakum tadhakkarun. Allah commands justice, the doing of good, and liberality to kith and kin. He forbids all shameful deeds and injustice and rebellion. He instructs you that you may receive admonition. فَمَنْ يَرِيدِ اللَّهُ أَنْ يَهْدِيَهُ يَشْرَحْ صَدْرَهُ لِلْإِسْلَامِ. Those whom Allah in His plan will to guide, He opens their breast to Islam. يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا اتَّقُوا اللَّهَ حَقَّ تُقَاتِهِ وَلَا تَمُوتُنَّ إِلَّا وَأَنْتُمْ مُسْلِمُونَ. O you believe, fear Allah as He should be feared, and do not die except in a state of Islam. وَاعْتَصِمُوا بِحَبْلِ اللَّهِ جَمِيعًا وَلَا تَفَرَّقُوا وَاذْكُرُوا نِعْمَةَ اللَّهِ عَلَيْكُمْ, and hold fast altogether by the rope which Allah stretches out for you, and be not divided amongst yourselves, and remember with guidance Allah's favor on you. Kuntum khayra ummatin ukhrijat lin-nasi ta'muruna bil ma'rufi wa tanhauna 'anil munkar wa tu'minuna billah. You are the best peoples ever raised up for mankind, because you enjoin the right, you forbid the wrong, and you believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalamu ala khairil mursalin. Muhammadin an-Nabi al-Ummi. Wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. Amma ba'd, yaqulu Allah ta'ala fil Quran al-Kareem. Inna Allah wa malaikatuhu yusalluna ala nabi. Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu sallu alayhi wa sallimu tasliman. Allahumma salli ala Sayyidina Mulana Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Bismillah ar-Rahim. Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu walakitum idha kila lakum anfiru fi sabilillahi atakaltum ila al-ard aradittum bil hayat al-dunya fil akhirah. O you believe, what is the matter with you, that when you are asked to go forth in the cause of Allah, you cling heavily to the earth? Do you prefer the life of this world to the hereafter? But little is the comfort of this life as compared with the hereafter. Unless you go forth, He will punish you with a grievous penalty and put others in your place. would not harm in the least, for Allah had power over all things. If you help not your leader, it is no matter, for Allah did indeed help him when the unbelievers drove him out. He had no more than one companion. The two were in the cave. And he said to the companions, have no fear, or to his companion, have no fear, for Allah is with us. Then Allah sent down his peace upon him, and he strengthened him with forces which you did not see, and humbled to the depths the word of the unbelievers. But the word of Allah is exalted to heights, for Allah is exalted in might and wise. Go forth whether equipped, lightly or heavily. Strive and struggle with your goods and your persons in the cause of Allah. That is best for you if you but knew. If there had been immediate gain in sight and the journey easy, they would all, without doubt, have followed me. But the distance was long and weighed on them. They would have indeed swore by Allah, if we only could, we should certainly have come out, that is, with you. They would destroy their own souls, for Allah does know that they are certainly lying. And the struggle that we're in, and the struggle that we see around the world right now, right at this minute, this is, if not the greatest struggle in recent times, it approaches that. But we feel personally that it is at this very moment the greatest struggle in modern Islamic history and the greatest struggle in the historical process of humanity. It's not only Muslims that are struggling, but the whole world is faced with dynamic challenges that they have to solve almost right now. They don't have long periods of time, they don't have an opportunity. I don't care whether it's the Arctic Circle, where they have forest fires right now or last month. It doesn't make any difference. What, you can watch the news. All the latest Bahamas. I happen to have lived in the Bahamas for a little while. Boy, it's beautiful down there. But if you have to live under a number 5 hurricane for about 24 hours, that means the hurricane is moving slow. It's not like one of them ones that run to and it just tear up everything and keep going. No, this is one that's number 5, high as you can get. 180 miles an hour winds constantly, 210-mile winds every now and then within that 180 miles. And this hurricane is moving at 5 miles an hour. That means you are just sitting where you are, praying, hollering, and screaming. And you're not going to be there like for no half hour or 2 hours. You're going to be there all day and maybe all night. With wind pounding, with stuff flying through the window, all your house being taken up, and you got to run to the garage, and then the garage is lifted up and blown away. This is serious business. This is new environmental circumstances. When Greenland is almost melted, right? When there's almost more plastic in the ocean than fish, this is a problem we have to solve. This is for humanity in general. Now, for you and I, as Muslims, we have a special call that's issued to us, because now this call is not only related to you and I right now. This is related to humanity, but it's a special call to you and I. Oh, you who believe, what is the matter with you? What's wrong with you? When you are called to go forth in the cause of Allah, you cling heavily to the earth. Then it uses the words dunya. The regard for dunya and the disregard for akhirah is the root of almost all evil. Regard for dunya, respect for dunya, love for dunya, attachment to the dunya, right, is the root of generally all evil. The dunya, physical, man, woman, children, houses, cars, all of that, PhDs, all of that is dunya. And you can get attached to it so that the Quran is saying you cling to it. It's not only has its own gravitational pull, but there's two elements going on. The gravitational pull of dunya is working on you, and at the same time, you clinging to it. Right? So if the gravity was released, it wouldn't do no good because you're still clinging to it. But the only thing is you're not in a rush for akhirah, but one thing about dunya, you're not taking it nowhere. Isn't that right? I don't care how hard you cling to it. I don't care how, one time a man was passing away and Umar went to visit him, and every time he went to visit him, he had his eye on a pillow that was in the corner. So finally, when the guy died, they went and looked behind the pillow, and it was all that money there. He said, oh my goodness, the guys, they knew what it meant. His mind was not on akhirah. His mind was, oh my goodness, all that money I done saved, and I can't take it all. He didn't worry about doing it. Not akhirah, the root of all pain and suffering, right, is not akhirah, is holding on to, clinging on to dunya. That's why the call is given, oh, you believe, what's wrong with you? What problem do you have? What is the matter with you? When you call to go forth in the cause of Allah, you cling heavily to the earth. It is as though you have picked up so much weight that the gravitational pull is holding you down. It's not only holding you down, it's holding you back. It prevents your momentum from going forward. They used to say in positive thinking, make yourself lighter to lift. Like if you're a leader, you want to help somebody, then you, the one that's being helped, make yourself lighter to lift. Don't make it hard on the leadership. Make it easier. Make yourself lighter to lift. That's what they used to say. So dunya, regard for dunya and disregard for akhirah is the great crime that we're talking about today. Now, I'd like to break down a little bit about what we've been talking about so far. Abu Talha, one of the Prophet's companions, after reading this verse, said to his son, I see that Allah has ordered us to go forth in jihad, whether we are young or elderly. Prepare my equipment. His sons protested. You fought in the battles with the Prophet ﷺ until he passed away. You fought with Abu Bakr until he died. Then you fought with Umar until his death. Now let us fight on your behalf. He refused and insisted on doing his share. He joined an expedition by sea, but soon he died. No island was near where he could be buried. His body remained in the boat for 9 days without showing any change or color. Then they came to an island where he was buried. Another one says, Abu Rashid al-Harani, radiallahu anhu, reports, I visited al-Miqdad ibn al-Aswad, a great warrior and a companion of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam. I found him sitting on a wooden box, looking so thin, but he was nevertheless wanted to join an army on an expedition. I said to him, you are certainly excused by Allah. He said, I have been reading this surah, and I read Allah's order, go forth, anfuru, tanfuru, go forth. Whether you be lightly or heavily armed, and strive in the cause of Allah with your wealth and your lives. Another reported, we went on a campaign with Safwan ibn Amr, the governor of Homs, till we reached a place called al-Jarajima, when I saw a man looking very old, with his eyebrows particularly covering his eyes, or practically covering his eyes. He was from Damascus, riding his camel and taking part in the fight. I went to him and said, Uncle, Allah has certainly excused those like you. He lifted his eyebrows and said, Nephew, God has called upon us to go forth and strive in his cause, whether we are lightly or heavily armed. Allah will test a person whom he loves, and then he will let him live. Allah tests those of his servants who thank and praise him, and those who remain steadfast in adversity, as well as those who worship Allah alone. Remember what we're reading. O you who believe, what is the matter with you that when you are asked to go forth in the cause of Allah, you cling heavily to the earth? Do you prefer the life of this world to the hereafter? But little is the comfort of this life as compared with the hereafter. Then it goes on to say, unless you go forth, he will punish you with a grievous penalty and put others in your place, but him you will not harm in the least, for Allah has power over all things. Go forth, whether equipped heavily or lightly. It is what it says, the commentary. The term light and heavy has been explained by some as poor and rich, by others as inactive or active, and yet as the unmounted or the mounted. That means if you got a transportation or you don't have transportation. Fat or thin. Fat or thin. You know, thakal is heavy, it's thick. So it uses the word thakal in here. So whether you're thick or thin, whether you got arthritis, rheumatism, or you healthy, jumping up and down, turning flips, it don't matter. Anfaru, tanfaru, go forth in the cause of Allah. So right here it says, Hassan ibn Salih, Mujahid, and others have said that by the word light and heavy, all allusion to the young and old. In fact, is reported by Abu Talha that explained the term when it was said, Allah will not listen to anyone who excuses and left for Syria to fight in the cause of Allah until he died. Another incident concerns an old man who went up to Sa'd ibn Abu Waqqas. This is the same one I just read. The old man that's sitting there Or in the case of Abu Talha, you know, famous, the son said, you fought with the Prophet, peace be upon him. You fought with Abu Bakr. You fought with Umar. You didn't fight with everybody. He said, now you're old. Let us go out and fight. And one person goes to the other old man and it says, uncle. Because see, in Muslim countries, they would always call us uncle. You know, uncle, this, uncle. Everybody calls you uncle. You may not be a family uncle, but they call you uncle as a reference to friendship and companionship. So they're addressing him, uncle. You've been excused. Your eyes, man, you got, you know, when your eyes get real loaded, and then you got these thick eyebrows almost covering your eyes, that's what he is. And he can't hardly hold his head up, but they say, you've been excused from this stuff. It's all. And this guy goes out. And then in one case, one of the Sahaba asks, what happened to the old man? He said he was killed in the cause of Allah. But he was old, so go forth whether equipped lightly or heavily. That means whether you got a lot of weapons or you equipped lightly. In this call, that's what it means. It don't mean get super fortified, then go out. Now, these ayats came at a very serious time. This is when the Roman Empire, Byzantium, had paid its troops up on the border with Syria 1 year advance in Saudi to go down and wipe out this Islam, the Muslims. But when the guy heard that they was coming, the biggest army ever raised in Arabia now, 30,000 people. You know Hunayn was 10,000, Badr was 313, stuff like that, against 1,000. It was small numbers. Didn't get big till Hunayn, stuff like that, 10,000. Now, the Prophet ﷺ raised an army of 30,000. When is it though? Good God Almighty. This is at the time all the crops is just right. Medina is an agricultural region, right? Now imagine, you know how fruit is in that hot weather. You can look at your crop, man, in 3 days, it's going to be ripe and ready to pick. In a week, it's too late. It's all gone, right? So you got to pick it at just the right time. Not only that, the weather is hot. Good God Almighty, it is hot, hot, hot. So the munafiqs are slipping around and they telling the people, hey, look here, take it easy now. You know you're going up there to fight Rome. These are not Arabs who've been fighting. These are trained military people. That's their whole life. That's all they do is fight. They not, you raise a crew and you'll go out, put a few swords on, jump on your camel and go fight like the Arabs did. No, this is a trained military, and they pay a year in advance. So they're ready to come down there and stay. But they hear these people have jumped up and they ain't playing. So actually they don't have to fight, but these ayats are revealed. For those people to go, it's what the Arabs call Harun Jiddan. It's very hot, right? Harun, that means it's really hot. And they want you to go forth in that period. Prophet ﷺ gives a call. So what is the call? Unless you go forth, he will punish you with a grievous penalty. And it ain't only that. He's going to put others in your place. He's going to replace you. We have some of our old discussions were on ayats of replacement. And there's a couple of statements. It says, behold, you are those who are invited to the way of Allah. But among you are some that are stingy, niggardly. But any who are stingy or niggardly are so at the expense of their own souls. But Allah is free of all wants, and it is you that are needy. If you turn back from the path, He will substitute. He will substitute in your stead another people that would not be like you. This is Surah Muhammad, ayat 38, Quran. So the Sahaba are asking, O Rasulullah, about what people is the Quran talking about that will be replaced. Abu Hurairah radiallahu anhu reported that the Prophet ﷺ recited this verse: if you turn back, He will replace a people other than you, and then they will not be like you. They said, O Prophet ﷺ, who are those among whom Allah said that if they turn back, He will replace them in our place, and that they will not be like us? Prophet ﷺ then struck the thigh of Salman al-Farsi, Salman the Persian, who was sitting next to him. In other words, they sitting there together. Actually, he said they was thigh to thigh. And he patted his thigh. He said, they will, well, let's read. And then he said, he and his people, had there been religion near Pleiades, that's a star way off, some of the Persians would have certainly secured it. Now, this is a historical discussion. This could relate to 1st century, 2nd century, 3rd century, even up to the 4th century. Do you know who collected technically all of the hadith? Where is Sahih Bukhari from Bukhara? Where's that Persian Empire? Tirmidhi, Ibn Majah, Imam Muslim, Al-Isfahani. You know where Isfahani? Iran. You know, in Iran, the Al-Ghazali, all of those people are from Iran. For the first 400 years, right, Iran was Sunnis until the Safavid dynasty came and changed them to Shias. They didn't change on their own, right? The ruler said, we're going, because they had 3 empires in those days, the Mughal Empire, Uthmaniyya, you know, the Ottoman Empire. So, they said, and the Safavid dynasty. There's 3 empires at one particular time in Islam. And remember, Uthmaniyya lasts 500 years. Can you imagine the Ottoman Empire? The Ottoman Empire, it was just 100 years ago the Ottoman Empire disappeared. Right? It was only 100 years ago, 1918, after World War I. Up until then, for 500 years, the Muslims ruled that part of the world. Right? And if you go back for 1,200 years, technically the Muslims ruled the world. That's right, that's the way it was. Before colonialism. Before colonialism in Africa and before the British and the French spread out all over the world, we was running things. Don't mean we did a good job, but sometimes we had a good caliph, sometimes we didn't have a, you know. But they changed it to Shiism. Here's the hadith. You look at the news right now. Who's taking the pressure? Tell the truth. Now, you have to be real. When you read this, we read this stuff to find out, to get guidance. We don't read it, well, I like them, I don't like, we don't do that. Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam is telling the people there's going to be a time. You could say, well, it was a time during the early period of Islam. No, that might have been one period. Hadith, you may see a hadith. Hadith deals with time, place, and circumstance, right? Tell the truth. So it might be a time when that hadith is not really big time. I mean, it's always there, but you need some other hadith. This hadith is saying that you're going to be replaced. That means the Arabs, the Africans, right? Well, let's look at Arabs and Africans. What are they doing? What is, can you imagine the richest Arab country in the world slaughtering the poorest in Yemen? And guess who's holding up? The poorest are holding up. They're holding on tight. And now they got fitna going on between the bums. And the bums are lost. Technically, is what the bums is right now. So Yemen, the lashes through cholera. And can you imagine the cholera is in the modern time? The cholera, the little children look like they got skin and bones. This is in our period. We're living in a period where, when it talks about go forth, whether equipped lightly or heavily, this is calling me and you. This is calling us now. Wherever it's calling us to, we got to get busy right now. If we don't, we'll be replaced. Are we being replaced? What's going on in the Muslim world? Right? Just look at it. Everywhere we get blessings. I don't care. We got fitna in Somalia, fitna in the whole continent of Africa. We just got fitna, right? And a good leader rise up like Alama Zakzaki in Nigeria. What do? They shoot him, they shoot his followers, his wife. They didn't kill 3 of his sons, right? That's what's going on today, right now. There was lead poisoning. They finally go to the hospital in India. I don't want to know why you want to go to India to get treatment, but that's what they said. We'll let you go to India for a hot minute. Prophet then struck the thigh of Salman, the Persian, who was sitting next to him, and then said, he and his people. So the Prophet ﷺ, the people wanted to know about who the Quran is talking about, people that will replace us. Who could they be? He struck Salman, the Persians, thigh, and said they'd be from amongst those people. Tanfiru means to go forth, march onward, be ready to strive and suffer, for this is the condition of all progress in the spiritual, moral, and physical world. Allah helps those who help themselves. Inactivity and lethargy are fatal. No one can rest on his oars. Man is not necessary to Allah, but Allah is necessary to man. If a nation receives favors and fails to deserve them, it will be replaced by another, as has so often happened in history. We may take this as a special warning to Islamic nations. There's another ayat following that. It basically says that if you don't go forth, you will be replaced by another. Then it goes on to say, if you help not your leader, it is no matter, for Allah did indeed help him when the unbelievers drove him out. he had no more than one companion. The two were in the cave. And he said to the companion, "Have no fear, for Allah is with us." Then Allah sent down His peace, as-Sakinah, on him and strengthened him with forces which you saw not. And humbled to the depths the words of the unbelievers. The words of Allah is exalted to the heights, for Allah is exalted in might wise. So, they're in the cave, or they're running away. The Hijrah flight, they're running away from Mecca to Medina. And as they're traveling and running, that's what the flight is. The flight is the Hijrah. They're trying to get away from oppression. Some people call it a migration. It ain't no cruise and migrate. They're not migrating. They are running. Right? Migration. Yeah. Let's get up and move and cruise over to Canada. We're going to migrate to Canada. You ain't going to run to Canada. They ain't running. Right? They're hiding. They're in the cave. Abu Bakr is nervous. He should be nervous. Why? Because the whole fate of Islam is hanging on the two weakest things in the world. Right? A bird's nest and a spider's web. It ain't nothing weaker than those. There's some things weaker. But can you imagine? The whole fate. The reason we're here today is because of a bird nest. Right? A bird nest, the pigeons, and the spider's web. That's why we're here today. Not technical, because Allah makes everything. But if you want to just say from that point what this ayah is talking about, Abu Bakr's word, man, Allah sent down as-Sakinah on them. Technically, he sent it down to Abu Bakr because Abu Bakr needed it. And ain't nothing wrong with needing it. They're not in no big cave where you got to go way back there. Remember? If the people would have just looked down, they would have saw them right there. There's not no big, deep cave, right? They just sitting right there. The only reason the guy just walked up, so well, there's birds feeding their little babies, and there's a spider web. They can't be in there. And he just walks away. But if he'd have stopped and picked this tooth, the middle of the tooth, and flipped a couple of coins and looked down, that would have been it, right? You've got to look at it. So there's something powerful going on. Forces in the universe, in the cosmos, that's changing the environmental circumstances that is affecting the pursuers to the point that those angels, those forces, put blinders on these people. They focus their attention somewhere else. Those are forces you don't see. But those forces do exist. In many battles, the Prophet ﷺ in one battle threw a handful of dust. And it blinded everybody. Well, can you imagine in those days, camels is kicking dust, horses is kicking dust, there's dust everywhere. Prophet ﷺ picks up a handful of dust and throws it at the enemy. If they would have been Negroes, they would have said, time out. They would have started laughing. They would have, the Negro, the man would have run him crazy. That's what Negroes would have done. Tell us, time out, time out, time out. Everybody 5-minute rest, and they would have laughed all those 5 minutes. Allah said in the Quran, well, I'll tell you what the Mufassir said, the Tafsir. They say the Prophet actually threw the dust, but Allah aimed it. Because in the Quran it says, you didn't throw it, I threw it. That's what Allah is saying. You didn't throw that dust, I threw it. But he technically did pick it up and throw it. Everybody was standing there watching. But he didn't aim it. It was the aim of Allah with his assistants and angels that specially aimed that dust to blind, to confuse and discombobulate the enemies of Islam. Those are the forces that we have on our side. So when we get in the midst of challenges, that's what we got. So Allah shows us throughout history that when we struggle with our utmost, he will reward our faith with as-Sakinah. Sakinah is derived from the Arabic word sakun, stillness, which is opposite of movement. Therefore, Sakinah conveys peace, calm, security, and tranquility. It is tranquility of the heart. When a person is stable of mind and is not perturbed and taking a firm decision, such a person is said to have Sakinah. It is the virtue of the wise person who possesses a strong will. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has counted it as one of his most valuable gifts, which he furnishes upon those who have achieved a high degree of faith. That's as-Sakinah. This confidence when everybody else is going crazy, you have stillness, tranquility, and confidence. Allah's good pleasure was on the believers when they swore fealty to thee under the tree. This is who they be. He knew what was in their hearts, and he sent down tranquility, as-Sakinah, to them, and he rewarded them with a speedy victory. Clear, speedy victory. While the unbelievers, shortly after that, while the unbelievers got up in their hearts heat and cancer, heat and cancer, ignorance, Allah sent down his tranquility to his messenger and to the believers and made them stick close to the command of self-restraint. And well were they entitled to it and worthy of it. And Allah has full knowledge and has full knowledge of all things. This is as-Sakinah. It's tranquility. There's a little bit here more about wisdom. In this last ayah, Sakinah refers to the patience and dignity with which the Holy Prophet ﷺ and the Muslims resisted the rancor of the disbelievers. Little incidents had taken place which might have plunged the Quraysh and the Muslims into a fight. This is what they have a treaty. A delegate from the Prophet ﷺ camp was almost killed. A few men from Mecca went to attack the Muslims, but they were captured and brought before the Prophet ﷺ, who forgave them. The Muslims did not get provoked by insolent behavior and did not do anything which might violate the spirit of righteousness or which might have further complicated the situation instead of settling it amicably. This deals with fitna, deals with divide, conquer, and rule. Do you notice that I don't care who you are, especially if you Negroes, Arabs, Africans, when anybody started moving toward progress, right? Somebody jump out of the woods from his own tribe and jump on him and start slowing him down. Why? To get him into a fight. Amongst Negroes, when Negroes was getting big in rap music, well, the first thing they did in rap music was changed it from positive rap. Remember revolutionary rap? Y'all remember that? All of it was good and healthy. They quieted that down. Isn't that right? Professor Griffin, all of them? You ain't even heard of them no more. When Zionist Connection in '89 was the #1 album in America for rap, they got rid of that. Zionist Connection, does anybody remember? The Zionist Connection in rap music was the #1 Professor Griffin them. Oh, they was hollering and jumping, boy, they was throwing down. The Zionists got snatched all of that off and replaced them brothers with 100% Negroes. Kill that bitch, shoot that nigga, right? Isn't that what they changed it to? Just like that. And it didn't make no difference. Some niggas got big, big and small, and them Tupac, they was getting big money. And all of a sudden, East Coast rappers, West Coast rappers, right? Killing each other, right? Now, who's getting all the money? The Jews, not the Jews, Zionists. Everybody getting money but us. I'm trying to tell you, this is not a new phenomenon. It's happened all over the world. Divide, conquer, and rule. Get them to fight each other. Why you think we peaceful? You think we scared of the little sweetie pie Negroes? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Why? Because we have to stay focused on the main goals of the movement. Divide, conquer, and rule. This is the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. That's why in certain cases he fought. In other cases, when they got a treaty, he said, we ain't fighting. We're not going to let nobody come by and provoke us into no fight either. You see, they grabbed one guy and they almost killed him. So, no, we forgive these guys. People brought the people to the Prophet ﷺ. He said, I forgive them. Because it's time for forgiveness. We'll fight when we get ready. Isn't that right? All right, we're going to move on and head toward a close. This is As-Sabiqun. As-Sabiqun is a tranquil, peaceful, continuous, you are able to function with a clear mind and a strong heart under the spell of As-Sabiqun. It's tranquility. It comforts you, it softens you up, but not sweetie pie sorry, but it makes you focus on what you're doing. This is As-Sabiqun. This is what we need now, the Muslim need. This is what Abu Bakr, radiallahu anhu, you know, everybody think Abu Bakr Siddiq was his favorite name. The second of the two was his favorite name. The second of the two, what? Second of what two? In the cave, there was two people. He was the second of the two. That's his favorite name. Everybody talking about Abu Bakr Siddiq, but that's not his favorite. Right? The second of the two. It was me and him. That's all it was. And he loved that. That was his favorite nickname. Anyway. So we'll move toward a close. We're in a very serious time. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling us, Anfiru, to rush forward, to go forward. Don't become heavy. Don't become burdened. Don't become thick and sluggish and holding on, clinging, right, to al-hayat al-dunya. Put your confidence in the ultimate reality, akhirah. Remember, focus on dunya is the first step toward destruction. Focus on akhirah is the first step toward and liberation. Remember? That's where freedom and liberation come. The slavery of materialism is what's causing the world, right, to be in the situation that is in today. So release yourself from sluggishness. Or allow us substitute. Yes, stop dealing. Substitute. Replace. Exchange. We'll be exchanged, brothers and sisters. We'll be exchanged. The earlier Muslims in America have already been replaced. The ones that are big time now, they better get busy. They better get busy. If they don't, they're going to be replaced. Allah's religion don't depend on them to rule. What's up? They depend on Allah. But once they start rolling in money, people told me out of big shows, well, if you don't take your box around, we'll make sure you get what is to eat. You'll get more money, we'll send you more money than you can collect in that box. So I said, man, I ain't going for that. Then Islam started working. Well, it's okay. So we come back out here and we go to Islam. Do something. You know, it's our little party we have in the East. I don't know, it's been 4 or 5 months now. They didn't call. They didn't send nothing. They called a month ago and said, Imam Musa, I am a new board member, and I was informed of such and such. Would you like to come out and pick up your such and such, or would you like us to send it? I said, just send it to them. I was in California. I said, just send it to them. We've been dutifully going to the mailbox. Either somebody stole it out of the box, or they didn't send it. I suspect they might not have sent it. You know, there are rules for, simple little rules for Eid al-Fitr. You know who that money is for? It's for the poor and the needy. That's who the money is for, the poor and the needy. But people who have giant institutions, they begin to think if we let the Negro, I told the guy, I said, look at this box, I got $2 in this box. You think that's going to hurt all the people? People lined up for 2 miles coming in. The point is this, people can lose focus on what Islam is. Down in Texas, I went to a big masjid down there, and I was raising money for Imam Jamil. The people gave me the runaround. So I stood out there in front, and I had a box. I said, forget it, I ain't gonna. Then a guy come up, Imam Musa, haven't seen you in years. He went to school, he went to the university up in Ames, Iowa. He was coming to check out Berkeley, and he stayed at our masjid. Back in the early 80s, I mean, the masjid wasn't even technically open yet. It was dug all up, but he stayed there. He used to. Then he went back. He said, I'm going to make a prayer. I'll be right back. He's going to make my group because he was a little late. But on the way, he went to the door and took out some keys. I said, oh, just a minute. I said, you ain't the chief around here, are you? He said, yes, I'm the head of the board of directors. I said, fine, go on and pray to come. He said, I said, at Isha, I just want to make an announcement. It was $4,000 or $5,000. I just raised $4,000 or $5,000 to Imam Jamil just right there, just because he said it's okay. I went back the next year, The head of the joint was not Somali, but somewhere close like that. He just got here. He wasn't here all week or two. There's no stop-ins, no drop-ins, Imam Musa. You have to make way. I said, no drop-ins. I said, the sunnah is drop-ins. Everybody dropped into the masjid. And they said, oh, Rasulullah, sallallahu, I need such and such. They said, anybody got somebody for this guy? He said, well, just wait a while, right? Maybe the guy needed a camel. That's what I need. If you lead somebody to the guidance, you get the same one as the guy that got what he come for, right? So if you lead a guy to the guy that's got a camel, you get the reward for leading him there, and the guy that gave him the camel get the reward too. That's the beauty of Islam. They say the people are saying no drop-ins. I don't blame them all the time. But guess what? If you're a Negro, you go out to one of these mosques and say, I need to pay rent. How much is rent? $1,200 or something. Well, you got to fill out this, and you got to go to the Negro Masjid and sign it. We sign stuff for Muslims. They need $1,200. We disagree with that. The same people that talk to us, and I'll close in a minute. I mentioned zakat, the 8 categories of zakat, fiyari, kab, all those people. Fisabilillah, fiyari, kab, well, we're looking for somebody that we can give zakat to that kind of sticks to our guidelines. We're not sticking to y'all's guidelines. Y'all do still distribute zakat like that? I said, we don't do that. I said, the Negro come in here and said, you see what I do? I said, well, here's what I got, let's see what we got. Right? If he's lying, we get the blessing of giving him zakat, right? We don't have to lord over him. Maybe 40, 50, it could be 80%, 90% of the Negroes might be lying, right? It ain't on me. It ain't on us, right? We're going to give it to them. Here you go. Why? Because that is not our job. Allah is al-Hasib. Allah is the accountant. He keeping count of who's lying, right? It ain't our job. I said, no, we're not going to do that. I say, we just tell the people, we ain't got nothing today, man. Come back next week, come back tomorrow, anything. But we're not going to have them fill out no long slip and sit around looking crazy, right? That means that these people have changed our Islam. That's just one case. If they tell you where you can send your zakat, in America, freedom of speech, press, and religion, isn't that right? They can't tell you where to send your, we don't think those are terrorists over there. That's too bad. They ain't got no right to tell you where to send no money, right? Because it's a part of your religion. They ain't got no right. That the First Amendment to the country, the freedom of speech, press, and religion. They tell you what to do with your zakat, they're interfering with your business. Okay, you can do what you want. We're not going to put up with it. In closing, dear believers, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told us to go forward, whether lightly or heavily. You may think it's a bad time. It's not a bad time. It's the best time in Islam in modern times. Muslims is on the road. That don't mean all the Muslims are good Muslims, or they're going to all just wind up in heaven and they're just so road. The Muslims is like everybody else, barely getting by. You know what I mean? The Muslims need a lot of help. But when you allow the kernels and the truth of Islam to influence you, it takes care of all your faults and sins, and they begin to float away. That's the beauty about Islam. So don't say, we're not perfect yet, so we can't do anything. That's insanity, right? That's insanity. And I close with this. Remember the guy, he didn't even know al-Faqih. He said, is it true that if I die in the cause of Allah, I'm going to go to paradise? Prophet ﷺ said, sure. I bet the guy didn't know al-Faqih. So he threw the dates away he was eating and went out and got martyred in the cause of Allah. The Prophet ﷺ said he gave a little, but he got a lot. He gave a little. He gave that time he got, and he got paradise. Remember, the struggle is the same. It's haq and batil, but it's al-hayat al-dunya and akhirah. Which one are you going to focus on? Oh Allah, we seek thy refuge from anxiety and grief. We seek thy refuge from lack of strength and laziness. We seek thy refuge from cowardice and niggardliness. We seek thy refuge from being overpowered by debt and the oppression of men. Oh Allah, suffice us with what is lawful, keeping us what is prohibited. With thy grace, make us free from what? Of what is decided. Ameen.